Welcome back to the next video. In today's video we will be seeing how to trigger a lambda function, how to trigger AWS batch using lambda function in AWS. So I have already made quite a few videos on lambda, so there are few basic steps which you have to make sure while integrating lambda. I will quickly go through this. I won't talk in detail, but if you're curious you can check out my previous videos on AWS Lambda. So firstly, what you will have to do is you will have to know the name of your task job queue as well as your job definition, which we have created in previous video for AWS batch. So here is my job queue name, and this is my job definition name. So you will have to remember this. And to set up serverless on your local PC, so what you will have to do is first you will have to install npm install -g serverless. So this will install globally for you. Again, this is an Node.js example, but similar things can be done for Golang as well. And here first you will have to run this command, so you will get this key as well as this secret key from your AWS console. Next, what I have done is that I have created a simple Node.js project, and inside that I have taken this package.json file, and if you see here I have just added this AWS -SDK dependency because I want to trigger the AWS batch from my lambda function. Once you do that, create a Node.js project and create a package.json, then you will have to just run this command. So once you run this command, it will create this handler.js as well as this serverless.yaml file. So if you go to handler.js, here you can see that I have added some service name as well as a framework version. So if you see over here, you can give the service name as anything, and the framework version is 3, so which is by default, and the provider I have kept it as AWS. The runtime is Node.js 18, and stage I have kept it as dev, but if it is production for you, you can add it that as well. Then you have to specify a region as well, and you will have to specify function. I have named it as trigger weekly job, and the handler as well I have named it as trigger weekly job. And inside the events you can see that I am scheduling it at on Saturday, but you don't need to add this events if you are going to trigger lambda manually, or if you have an API gateway, then you can trigger using that as well. But here I don't have an API gateway and I don't want to trigger manually, don't want to trigger the lambda manually, so I have added this schedule event. Now if you want to learn about what API gateway basically does, is that it gives you an URL for your lambda function, and if you want to you know how to create a URL for your lambda function using API gateway, you can watch my first video. The only thing which changes this stuff. Okay, here I have added some route URLs, so that will give you the actual URL for your lambda function, but I have kept it simple over here. So I have set the schedule over here, so it runs every Saturday, but even though you have set a schedule over here, you can trigger it manually as well. Okay, so that's it for serverless, but do be careful about this names over here. So this exact name you have to use it over here as well. So inside handler.js you can see I'm using AWS SDK, then I'm initializing our batch, then I'm using the same name which I have defined it on the serverless.yaml file. Then if you suppose if you remember in my last video, I have added some environment variables, right, to our job definition. If you want to override those job definition environment variables, so suppose I had one environment variable called my key. So if you want to override its value, you can pass something like this, and in container overrides you can use it something like this. So again, I have told you at the start of the video, do remember your job definition as well as job queue name, because we are using it over here. The job name can be anything, depends on you. And here you can see I'm just submitting the job, and the return status code is 200. Okay, and here I'm just console logging in case there is any error. And inside package.json I'm not really doing anything, just imported this dependency. So what I will do is now is that I will simply, so you don't need this. Okay, before you run this serverless deploy, So we need to add this as well, which is the one thing which I forgot. So I will go to package.json. Okay, I'll add this. So this should be deploy, and this should be serverless deploy. Okay, and before you do a serverless deploy, make sure you have all this permission, like along with, so for your IMA role you require Lambda, cloud formation, delete stack, describe change set, describe stack event, stack resource, create change set, validate template, delete change set. Then for IMA I just gave all the roles because I was quite frustrated. Even for even though I'm not using API gateway in this, but I gave it that permission in case if you want to use it. And then I gave CloudWatch logs as well, execute change set, put, create log groups as well. Then you will have to run this command AWS configure. So this should be small, and it will ask you to set your region locally as well as your access key ID and secret key. So you can just enter that. Okay, and then you can just run npm run deploy or serverless deploy, depends on you. So just open your terminal. You can see that I have successfully able to deploy my serverless function. Now if I go to Lambda, and if I select my particular serverless function from AWS console, you can just go to test and just click on test over here, and it should be able to execute your serverless Lambda function. Now if you want to so here it immediately says, okay, it is giving me some error. Let's see, access denied. Okay, so we need to give our serverless Lambda access to batch submit job. So if you remember, we have deployed our Lambda function, and the name of our Lambda function is this, my task dash Lambda dash dev. So you just have to go to IMA roles, search for my task Lambda or whatever is your Lambda name. Once you go over here, just click on add permission, attach policies, and we just search for batch access. So I will just give full access to this, add permissions. Okay, so the permission is attached. Now I will again go back to my Lambda. I will just go to test over here, code test. Okay, I'll just click on test again. Let's see what it gives now. So again 500. Okay, maybe I will try to refresh this. I will just click on test now. Let's see, 500 again. Do I need to save this? Okay, this has been added. Let's see what it says. Provided name my task job queue is not supported pattern. Okay, let me go over here. Oh sorry, I have named it wrong. So I'll just go over here, I will deploy it again, and once it is deployed I will test it again. Okay, again now all I'll do is I'll again come back to my Lambda. I'll click on test. I will just click on this test, and let's see. Okay, it has been successfully submitted. And now to check the logs, again you have to go back to CloudWatch. I will go to AWS. Over here my logs are printed successfully. So all you have to do is again go back to CloudWatch, go to logs group, select for AWS batch job, just select your job definition, whichever is the latest or whichever has been started recently, and you should be able to see your logs if there are any. If you are doing some other kind of batch operations like uploading a file to S3, then you can just go to S3 and select see whether the file has been uploaded. Do have a little bit of patience because this batch completion of this batch does take a little time, and it's also a better idea to click on this resume button so that you will get continuous logs if there are any. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.